We're in transition.
Look at that. Dun, dun, dun.
Here we go.
Live.
Yeah, we are live indeed. Welcome, everybody, to the Canadian Bro Show, the second iteration, all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rolly. And we are here with a new backdrop. We're here with some new tunes and the same old Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rolly. Rolly, how you doing?
Well, having to listen to those tunes. I mean,
I
yeah.
love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I know.
It's a step in the right direction. And the last tunes Trent didn't like, and he's hard to
Uh,
please sometimes.
I'm very hard.
He's used to getting everything he wants in life,
That's not true. That is
and
not true.
sometimes on this show he just doesn't, and he tries. It won't
Okay,
stop him from trying. He was belligerent for a few brief moments in the last episode. I had to
never.
fix that up right
Oh,
away
here we go.
and sort
Yeah,
him out.
fix it right up.
Because the cheeks were a little too rosy, if you know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm saying.
I
But
know.
we're back. We're back for episode 19, and we're in for a good one. We've got a lot of hoops. Trent's going to go into. We both have been digging in deep into the March Madness and how that thing is exploding. And this weekend coming up is going to be absolute madness, mayhem, and destruction. And there'll be teams going down. There'll be surprises. And but before we go, I just Trent in prepping for the show today, I just came across this article and I was like, "Is this clickbait? Is this actually somebody actually this is true?" And then
Yeah.
so having a quick chat with Trent about this, apparently he agrees with the person that wrote this article, which is his name is Billy Hyen, and it's basically from the Sporting News at SNN, and it's the title says Iowa's Caitlin Clark snubbed in ridiculous ranking of best college women's college basketball players
That's the clickbait right there.
everywhere.
The article itself probably isn't really the clickbait because we talked about the article. I kind of
Yeah,
like it, but
yeah,
it's the clickbait is the headline, right? Like
yeah,
snubbed, like it's yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
The
go ahead,
way,
read
the, the
who are the
way.
top.
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, they say that Iowa's Caitlin Clark is snubbed, and of course they just want to do this because she has been snubbed almost by everybody. But I think we're at the point now where she is, in fact, the best female basketball player in the world, and she is transcending and changing the game of not just female basketball, but male basketball, basketball in general, throughout the entire world. Whether people acknowledge it or not, you're the first one to bring it up. I agree with you. But in looking at this, it says Caitlin Clark scored more points for Iowa than any other Division I basketball player, whether it be a man or woman, which is incredible. She beat Pistol
Yeah,
Pete Maravich,
yeah,
his scoring
crazy.
record, which was for 60 years. And he did it in 3 seasons.
Yeah,
She did it in 4 seasons. But
doesn't make anybody who are basketball people like us doesn't diminish. We all know it's hard to say that I'm being a big Caitlin fan that I am. It's hard to diminish Pistol Pete. He did what he did in 3 years without a 3 point line. He
it's
did have
just
his dad as
unbelievable.
he did have his dad as coach to let him shoot it 40 times
Yeah,
a game as well. But the dude was ridiculous. So it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
diminish him. It actually makes for me personally, the people that are just coming to basketball that are getting on this Caitlin Clark train, well, then all of a sudden who's Pete Maravich? Well, if they look back and see who Maravich, that brings that back to some people, right? That history of the game, understanding how great that guy was. I mean,
Bro,
unbelievable.
that happened to you.
So
That happened to you, right?
when
It
was that?
happened. Well, no, I mean, when I first told you about Pistol Pete Maravich, you really didn't know very much about him,
No, I
and
did not.
and then and then when you went back and did some research, you're like, holy shit, this
Oh, this
guy
guy
is
was
this guy
ridiculous.
is just unbelievable. I mean, you go on YouTube right now, you can watch the 68-point game that he put on the Knicks without a 3-point line, and it is unbelievably prolific. Have you seen that game?
Yes. Well, yeah. Like I said, I started going back uh, uh, quite a bit, like to all that history. That's. I mean, it's. I mean, it's crazy, dude. He's
It
just
really crazy, but
spectacular.
it just puts this whole Caitlin Clark in just a different stratosphere when it comes down to it. Is people have to really understand what she accomplished, and this is just the beginning of her career. and
Yeah.
so the author of this, who I mentioned his name, that apparently means nothing to ESPN's women's basketball crew. I won't say anything negative about that, but
No.
it's totally ridiculous. But after chatting with Trent, I understand his point of view, which named the top five women's college basketball players of all time. You think Caitlin was good? Wow, these five gals that they mentioned, and this is how ESPN ranked the top five women's college basketball players ever, with number one coming in quite clearly, Brianna Stewart with
Right.
UConn,
Yep.
followed by, excuse me, Candace Parker.
Yep.
Diana recently retired after 20 years of prolific scoring. Diana Taurasi, obviously, the UConn
Yep.
situation you did mention, it's
Yeah.
a little bit unfair.
It was
Um,
that. Yes.
Maya Moore, of course, UConn, and then of course the great legend herself, Cheryl Miller,
Yeah.
who, if you didn't know was a woman and you put her standing next to Reggie Miller, you would think it'd be twin guys.
No.
And
Let's not
they're
disparage Cheryl Miller.
what's that?
Let's not disparage Cheryl Miller.
Oh,
It's
not
like,
at all. I mean, but they look like they're twins. Like
dude,
it's really,
the fact that she tells stories,
yeah,
like we all know as basketball, the hoop junkies, that Reggie Miller was a huge trash talker. I
oh yeah,
loved watching Reggie Miller. He was such a fun player to watch play. And when he did it to the Knicks, and I was watching it with Paul, it was even more fun watching him play.
yeah, yeah,
So, memory of Reggie Miller really quick. Coming in from Paul and I shooting probably for about an hour, hour and a half at Kits Beach, just shooting threes, catch and shoot, going around shooting 25 each. Like the NBA three-point contest started to rain a little bit. We still played. We played probably for at least another half an hour out sprinkled out. Walked over to Malone's. Knicks, uh, Knicks Pacers is on, and it's the infamous game of him going off for like 27 in the fourth quarter and doing the choking sign to Spike Lee. But we go into Malone's, and all the screens are on hockey. So we sit at the bar and we just said to the guy, "Hey, is it okay if you turn the could you turn the channel to the next Pacer game?" Yeah, okay. So we turned that one TV for Paul and I. We're watching Reggie Miller just go nuts in this game, and Paul's just like hand in his palm, face in palms, like with what Reggie's doing to his Knicks, and it's unbelievable. And we're cheering out loud. And the bartender actually comes over to us and says, "Hey guys, can you keep it down, please? Because there's people like watching." Meanwhile, all these people watching the Canucks or whoever there was on at
yeah,
that time, because
yeah,
it was playoffs in the NHL as well, are like yelling and screaming. But the basketball guys, "Hey, you two, can you guys keep it down?" So that was just a quick Reggie Miller, how good Reggie Miller was. Well, Cheryl Miller used to kick that guy's ass all the time,
yeah,
and she talks all this crap about how she used to talk crap to him while she was beating him down, and I will have tears in my eyes because I'm laughing so hard because she just like puts it out there. She is
yeah. I
go look
mean,
at history of basketball. She is arguably the greatest woman player of all time. She is right
yeah,
there in that conversation. She really
she
is.
certainly was at that time. And the thing about that I remember that so
Oh,
clearly
I know.
is it was a
Great day.
hockey scene, and in Canada, of course, basketball and hockey play at the same time, so it's always been a challenge watching hoops.
Yep.
And people were telling us to shut up, we're watching hockey, and I was like, dude, just give us one screen. I mean, fuck sakes. I just couldn't believe it. Like,
The
and
best was
I turned I was just like, fuck everyone, man. Like, seriously, we're hoop junkies. We want to watch one freaking game. And but the guy was kind enough, and we asked him even
oh
to
yeah, the
turn the music
bartender.
volume down and turn the TV volume up so that at least we could hear it in real time. And
Yeah.
he was kind enough to do that. So I remember that quite well, Trent.
I just remember people that were kind of and we ended up by I would say probably with about 4 minutes left in that quarter. All of a sudden we had some people standing or behind us because we were
Yeah.
sitting at the bar, standing behind us because it's like, what's going on here? Because these
Yeah.
two idiots are like yelling at the TV at at a bar kind of thing. So it
Yeah. It
was
was
like, do you guys not see what's happening here? Like this guy, I mean, I think it's 27. I think he had 27 in the fourth quarter. I think it was something like that.
yeah.
It was
It was
crazy. And
yeah, it
doing the
was
choke thing to Spike Lee,
yeah.
like just
Yeah.
iconic moment, right? Watching that
Yeah.
in the bar like
Yeah.
that was
It was
cool.
a fun memory. And
Go find out
I
about Cheryl Miller. If you're just getting into women's basketball, do Wikipedia on Cheryl Miller.
Yeah. Oh,
We'll find highlights on YouTube.
look up all of them because at the end of the day, Trent and I, we don't shy away from when
She
we.
scored 105 in a high school game, like
Yeah.
crazy, just
But I
crazy.
mean, we don't shy away. We like to talk about female basketball. I think it's really important. So we started the show with that little blurb, and it just shows you how many great female basketball players there were before Caitlin. And
Yeah,
she is the new 21st century star, no doubt about it. But man, some of the stars we were watching at the March Madness, the first part of it, Trent, please enlighten us all on what the heck is going on with March Madness. This weekend's going to be unbelievable. I've
all
never
right.
watched so much NCAA Division One basketball probably in 10 years that I did in the last weekend, and it was
I know
incredible.
it was some really good basketball. Unfortunately, Michigan State fell a little short, but they did get a number 2 seed, which I mean, I was surprised. But they're obviously I root for them. Guys that listen to this show that are friends of mine know that I've always rooted for Michigan State. Uh, they unfortunately they have games, and most games they usually have a lull of like 5 to 7 minutes where they don't really score a lot, and they usually can make up with it with their defense. When you're playing against the really good teams like the Dukes and the Auburns and the Tennessees and the Floridas and those teams, well, usually you can't. The defense isn't going to hold you in. You're going to lose those games, and that's kind of the problem for them. So
Don't
that
don't
was my
forget don't
that was
forget
my.
the don't forget the Houston team.
Yeah, I
It's going to
told you,
be a
man.
shocker.
I told you, Houston Cougars, man. They're
Woo!
like eighth in offense and first or second in defense in the nation. I mean,
Yeah.
they are. So we'll just do. I mean, obviously this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, men's and women's college basketball, basically from 9. It'll be 9 in the morning West Coast, 10 for me, 10 till 10 o'clock at night, basically.
Yep.
You can find a game to watch of both. Men's start on the 20th, which is, I mean, they have a couple playing games that they added with 68 now instead of 64 that will jump in. If they win, they have to play a number 1 seed. I'm not even going to go through those games. Those games,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
believe. And then Thursday, Friday are the first nights of the men's. And then set Friday, Saturday, are the first nights of the women's tournament because the women's play at home games to start with. Uh, so, yeah, I mean, number 1 seeds. I mean, Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston. I know you were watching them, but holy, does Florida, they were just rolling. They rolled the last couple of games against really good teams. Like, oh my
I
goodness.
watched both games, and
Wow.
Florida's won quite a few championships in the last decade or so,
Yeah,
and they're stacked, dude. They
they're
are probably the
so
most
big. Like, so,
prolific scoring team in
oh,
America.
yeah. The offensive rebounding they get and just
Scary.
the size they have, the shooting, they're on a heater right now. Like, they're playing really good basketball. They're going into the tournament playing exactly how you'd want to be playing right now going into the tournament. You're not going in on a loss. You're going in on beating like a couple other top 10 teams to win the SEC title. So um, I like Alabama. I think Alabama still can make some noise in the tournament. I mean, they were missing a guy in that game. And then in the Midwest, the other team is Houston Cougars. Like they just
Love
maul
them.
you. They just maul you. They just are all over you
I,
defensively.
I love Kelvin Simpson. As a coach, I
Yeah,
loved him. It is every stop. Just something about the dude. I just like.
yeah. No, I mean, when he was at Oklahoma, they were successful. Like
Yeah.
they're successful wherever he goes. He has some recruiting allegations allegedly out there, but it is what it is. I don't get. I mean,
Everybody
now
in
you
America.
don't. Those don't even count anymore now because you're paying these kids. So
Yeah,
that stuff.
exactly.
You might as if you're going to take banners down from Michigan for the Fab Five. Well, then you can start taking banners down for
That's
from
ridiculous.
those coaches and stuff, or take their suspensions away and pay them or something because
It's
it
just
doesn't mean
ridiculous.
anything now, right?
No,
But
and don't don't make a deal of it if it doesn't mean
yeah,
anything now.
exactly.
Let
So I would
history
just
be
go.
history.
I would just start with the South. Auburn's number 1. They're the overall number 1 seed. I like Auburn. They're old, right? They're all old
Yeah,
seniors, as we talked about before. They're a year younger on average. They're starting 5 than the OKC Thunder starting 5. So they're an old
old
team,
school
right?
basketball too.
And they play that way too. Yes, they pound the ball in there.
Yeah,
I like their big kid, but Brome, I think his name is.
yeah, yeah.
But he cannot. If you keep him away from his left hand in the post, he
Yeah.
can't go to his right hand. He has no move to the right. He can
And he has
only go left. Right?
no outside game,
No.
and he's limited
Yeah.
inside. You double team him right away, they're going to be in
Well,
trouble.
if he, I would say limited is fair, but at the same time, if he gets to his left hand, he's getting a bucket basically.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a jump hook, a little like stuff like that in the lane. He gets those shots, but he
Is he
can't
is
go
he
the right at all, like at all.
wait, is he six
So
eight or is he 6'9"?
yeah, he's 6'7", 6'8", I think. Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
undersized and he plays
Yeah,
below the rim. I think it's gonna be a
yeah.
problem with them.
And then you got Michigan State's in that same bracket at number 2 at the bottom of the bracket. Again, they're who they are. They play defense. They have seniors. They're always, Tom Izzo's teams are always second, 3, 4 year players. He's not getting a lot of one and dones. Um, just I think I'm a big fan because of him of Michigan State. I
Yeah,
was a big fan of
I
Tom Izzo.
understand that, but I mean,
Right?
seriously, like
So
2 overall seed, I was a little bit surprised at.
I was surprised. I was, um, especially because in this bracket, with Auburn being number 1, you have Iowa State at number 3, which is they're a good team. And then you have the one that I was surprised about was Louisville. They had Louisville at 8.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's 28 teams better than Louisville in the tournament right now. Like
I've
they got a
only
nice
played
team.
once, and I was impressed.
They played Duke tough. They played. I don't care that they don't have Cooper Flag or not. They played them tough. They were in
Well,
that game.
they didn't have them for those games, but they're going to have them for the
Yeah.
remainder.
But Louisville, the thing with Louisville there, that kind of could complicate things for Auburn because if they both win their first games, that's who Auburn plays is Louisville at that
Yeah,
being an 8 seed. So,
I
but
honestly,
they're playing Creighton, and Creighton's one of those wild card teams too. If
I
Creighton
know.
gets hot, Creighton Louisville game could be a whole bunch of. There could be 73s chucked in that game.
Yeah,
Like
that'd be a
there's
fun game
the
to
ball.
watch. But I have to give the advantage to Louisville because of the defense they play as well.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
on it.
and they're athletic and they've got some depth. They've got good
Yep.
coaching. I think if they can get by Creighton, and that was a good point because that's a challenging team. They can jack
Yeah.
it,
Well
and
coached.
absolutely. And but Auburn, there's a reason why they've won as many games as they
Yeah.
have, and
Yes.
I really think that Louisville, if they can upset them, they could go for a deep run
Yep.
in the remainder, as I feel with Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
But
Well, we'll get to
we'll
that.
get
We'll get
there.
to that
Yeah.
bracket too.
Oh,
Yep.
for sure.
And then so on the bracket that they would meet, if these two teams, the winner of this next bracket, which is the East, where Duke is number 1. That's not a surprise. Alabama's number 2. Wisconsin at number 3. I actually think this might be the easiest bracket. Like Duke has a really good opportunity to get to the final four for sure with this bracket because Alabama is roll the dice with what they're going to be each game, how they're going to shoot. They rely so much on the shooting the ball that they're all over the place. They'll
Yeah,
beat the
I
best team and they'll
honestly,
lose to the worst team.
I
So
honestly, and that's why I think they're not going to go very far
yeah,
because their outside shooting's very suspect. If they're hot, they're hot. But I just
right.
don't think they have what it takes to move on. And I think Duke, no one's talking about it. They won without the best player in America,
Yeah.
and they showed they could win. And that
Oh,
was the first game. When they did the second game, I was like, these guys
oh,
are for real.
yeah, they got a good team. They're a really good team, obviously. I guess in that bracket, I know there's a team you like in that bracket. The number 5 seed is Oregon.
Yeah,
You like them.
I
They're
do.
again, they're a team that needs to hit. They shoot. They want to shoot the ball, so they need to
But
be hitting shots, and they're on
listen,
that side. So,
against your team, Michigan State, the biggest problem in that game is the problem that they have is when they don't hit their shots, when they
right.
turn the ball over. They had 15 turnovers against Michigan State, and they couldn't hit. They are deadly when they hit, and when
Yep.
they're playing together with that synergy, their defense, their coaching, they've got everything. And
Yep.
one of my friends and one of the episodes we did, Dr. Stuart Schulman, that's his favorite player. He's an Oregon Duck. He bleeds
Right.
green. I
Yeah,
bleed
man.
a different color green, and that I'm a Celtics fan. And I told him, I said, I'm with you on the East Coast over here, but that's why I mentioned it with you because Michigan State's your team. Oregon is one of my sleepers, and to be interesting to see if they can put it together because when they put it together, they're a scary team.
Yeah, they're good, and they have size. They're big. So,
Yep.
and Wisconsin's kind of the same way. If Wisconsin shoots the ball well, they got a bunch of guys. I think they were gassed in that Michigan game. Um, but that
Yeah, I
side of
mean,
it, I think that's
but
a pretty. I think
how
that's a
many
really nice bracket for Duke. I
Trent?
think
They
that.
were gassed because they had what 3 games in a row,
Yeah,
pretty
and I
much.
think the only other team maybe that could get a little hot, they're sketchy also, is the number 9 seed is Baylor.
Right.
They're one of those teams that all of a sudden they lose 3 or 4 in a row, and then they win 4 or 5 in a row, and they're just a very streaky team the way they play, and they play a high intensity. three-quarter, kind of press type basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I think Duke's winning that. I'd be surprised to see that Duke wasn't in the Final Four coming out of that bracket, and I would be not be surprised. I'm with you on Alabama. I would be surprised if it's not Alabama. Like I could not be surprised if it's not Alabama in the Elite Eight against Duke to get to the Final Four. I guess the sleeper for me in that bracket is number 6 Illinois. They can shoot it. They got big guys who can shoot it, but again, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but that's a team I would. They have opportunity to actually uh, maybe do some damage, Illinois. But it just again, it's college basketball. We're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
That's what's great about college basketball. That's what makes it so much fun.
Oh,
These guys are kids. These are young men. They're kids still. I mean,
it's just it's so
so
exciting. I'm gonna buy some organic popcorn. I'm gonna make a huge batch of popcorn. I'm gonna butter the crap out of it, and and my hypertension is gonna take a nasty hit next weekend. But
sorry. Go ahead. You're
uh,
hyper. Let's not worry about that.
no, I'm
Um,
just talking. I just want to have soaked butter popcorn.
so the Illinois
I don't even drink beer, but I'm thinking about cracking a beer. I don't
The
know.
Illinois comment was made because we're going to the next bracket, which is Houston at number 1. Number 2 team is the one that's intriguing is Tennessee. Tennessee Volunteers. They they're surprising for sure. They have potential there. They have Kentucky on that side with Illinois, like I just mentioned, and you got Clemson on the other side with Houston. I think Houston's got a pretty good look at getting to the, at least the Elite Eight, if not the Final Four on that side. And then in the West, you have number 1 Florida, who we talked about. They've been crazy. Uh, they're on a heater right now. They obviously feel real good about themselves,
Yeah.
and they're big, shoot it. Their guards are big. Like they're just a big, athletic. And offensive rebounding. They're on the glass constantly, getting second shots and getting second, which is again, you need a lot of second shots in college basketball. There's a lot of missing going on.
You know
So
what's really interesting, Trent? And those are all excellent points. But when you look at some of these coaches and you see their aura, and Calvin Sampson, there's something about his aura. He just seems so comfortable and so relaxed, and his
yeah,
players love him. And I really think they're going to be a serious threat to win it all. I don't know why. I'm rooting for Duke myself, of course.
I know you are. Yeah.
And because I've always been a Duke fan, take a lot of heat for that. But please go on.
Okay, so on that side you have that with, and the number 2 seed is the one I'm rooting for is St. John's. They are just like beasts right now. They're back. They came back like kind of like old Big East the way they play. They don't shoot the ball great. They did in that Big East final. Well, it's not the Big East anymore.
Yeah,
ACC final.
right.
They shot the ball great in that final, but they play D. They get after people, and they have stretches where they don't hit a lot of shots, like we were talking about. They've had games where the announcer goes, "Well, they win by 10. Well, they were 5 for 25 or 5 for 35 from the 3-point line." And they're like, "Well, they were 5 for 35 last game, and they won." So it's just what they do. They just get after the ball. Rick
Yeah, I
Pitino
mean,
kind of had a rebirth there.
yeah, very much so. And I think the differences in the NBA level on the next level, the next journey, is better offense can beat the best defense in the world. But
Right.
in college, in the March Madness, better defense can get you
Yeah.
to the finals.
And I,
And it's hit and miss. If you're a jacking team, but everything goes in, you could win it all.
yeah.
But the defense is what's going to get you there in the in March Madness.
Oh, they let him play so physical, right? The game's way more physical. Honestly, it's a more it feels like it's more physical watching it than the NBA at times.
Do you
It
think
is like
maybe the NBA can learn something from that? Eh?
90s, man. It's like 90s basketball. Let these guys
Yeah,
play a little bit.
sure.
Texas Tech's on that side. Kansas is on that side. There's a team that had a real weird season,
Yeah,
and they could beat anybody. They have all the talent. They just had a really weird year. Um, Maryland's in this bracket. Maryland's one of those teams that's big, gets on the glass, needs to play D. They have a couple good players. And then UConn. That's who, if UConn, who's 2-time defending champs, they're an 8 seed. Well, if they win and Florida wins, which, I mean, UConn's playing Oklahoma, but they would play each other. So they'd be playing the 2-time defending champs. And again, they might have had a tough year, but it's not because they don't have talent there.
right.
And all you got to do is win 5 or 6 games and you're the champ, right? So this isn't your season anymore. So that's the men's side. That's what we got. I don't know. So you're picking. You're rooting for Houston, but you're cheering for Duke, is what I'm hearing.
I mean, yeah, I mean those basically, and then I've got my eye on the Ducks as like Cinderella.
Okay, so
Uh,
let's do this. What do you think for Final Four?
you go first.
Oh, no, 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 no.
No, I just want to hear what you say. I already know what I've got.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do. You go first. I already know what I want.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I have a pretty good idea, but I don't really like to make this
I know.
early
I know,
because
but if you're
because
picking a bracket, trying to win 1 million on ESPN, you
yeah,
got to pick the whole thing.
I'm not
So,
I'm
you
not
know,
trying to win.
I mean,
Um,
but I mean, hey, it's something that's out there.
go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of rooting for
me too.
Houston, so I'm gonna pick them because I am rooting for them, to be honest with you. And I'm gonna take another team that I think could lose in the first game because of how they shoot, but I'm gonna go with St. John's too, just because they're fun to watch. I like how hard they play. So I'd have I'm just got to figure out who I want in the top bracket. I mean, I cheer for Michigan State, but I'm a realist. Um, I mean, I'd be surprised not to see Auburn at least right there. So I'm gonna go with Auburn and St. John's and Duke and Houston. Those are gonna be my four picks. So
Yeah, I'm instead of
not a lot of upsets. There might be some upsets in the middle part and the early part of this tournament, but I think the main teams, if you look at Final Fours of the past, most of the time it's a 3 seed and up that are in it. Every so often you get that a lower seed, but overall it's three and up a lot of years and most years.
yeah,
So
I think instead of talking about I want to talk about the upsets in the first round. I think number 13 Yale is going to upset Texas
Texas
A&M.
A&M, yeah,
I think Drake has got a good chance to upset number 6 Missouri.
mhm,
And I really like Johnny Broom. He's got to have an epic series for them to continue to move forward. I just don't think they have it.
right,
Their outside shooting, their guards are a little inconsistent. Yes, they've got a winning record, but I really like Houston, and I really like Florida,
right.
and I really like St. John's, and I'm a big Duke fan.
Well, St. John's and Florida got to play. They're going to play each other in the Elite Eight if they
Yeah,
get there.
and
I just went with St. John's.
Florida's gonna kill them.
Yeah, well, maybe, right?
I,
But that's kind of how I have it looking at it too.
yeah,
So, yeah, I'm with you.
but it's going to be fascinating, and I haven't really put much thought into it in the last 10 years, but I'm certainly really excited about this year's. And like you're looking at all the top seeds, right? I mean, I love Tennessee. I really enjoy
Yep,
it. I'm not a big fan of Alabama.
yeah,
I really like Tennessee's depth. They've got a really intriguing mixture of bigs.
yep,
They've got a dynamic point guard. They've really well coached. They play great D,
yeah,
and I think they're very entertaining to watch. And you really gotta St. John's. I just love their coach, and it would be awesome if they can get out of that. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Kentucky, Wisconsin, Texas Tech, Iowa State. I don't know. Um, I don't know. It honestly. I'm excited just to get into it. I want to see some upsets, and
of course, there
I
will
want
be.
to I want to let everything unfold organically and just be a part of it. I'm excited.
All right, well, then we'll do the women's a little quicker here.
Sure.
So on the women's side, Regional One, number one seed, and the number one seed overall is UCLA. Number two is NC State from on the SEC, so they're a good team.
Yeah.
And you also have LSU and Baylor as number four. The team I'd say was a little dark horse would be Florida State at number six. They have a girl, and I cannot remember her name right now, is a scorer, can put the ball in the basket.
I
She's
love
in the top five scoring in NCAA this year.
I love cows that like that can
But
score.
UCLA is, I would be, they'd have to do something wrong not to be in the Final Four, if not the
Yeah,
final this year.
that'd be my choice too. What about USC? Do they have any
Yes,
chance?
so that's in regional four. That's UNC, USC is number one seed in that,
Yeah.
with UConn as number two. So those two could play in Elite Eight, UConn and USC. pretty bonkers. A little surprise in that one was number six Iowa grabbed the number six seed in that. Good on them. They play team basketball. They play hard. I'll be curious to see if they can get by Murray State, and then maybe between playing Oklahoma. So rooting for them just because Caitlin's my girl, so I'm kind of gonna root for Iowa when
Sure,
it comes
sure.
down to it. Then in Regional Three, you have Texas as the number one overall seed. They've got a couple girls who can play. Number two seed in that bracket is TCU, and then Louisville's. If TCU wins and Louisville wins at 7, uh, Haley Van Lith would be playing against Louisville, which is the former school she went to for 3 years actually
Right.
at one time. The only thing with that bracket is just above them is Notre Dame at number 3, and Notre Dame was the number 1 at one time. So that's a coin flip. If those two teams are playing each other, it's a coin flip to me. I know TCU has a couple bigger girls with length that they play. I mean, they just play a really good style. So that'll be a great matchup if it's TCU and Notre Dame in a game to get to if that'd be Sweet 16. That'd be a great game. And then on the last bracket on the Regional 2 in Birmingham, it's South Carolina's number 1. That's pretty obvious. Number 2 is Duke. A couple Canadian girls on Duke. Uh, they're a fun team to watch. They are just defensive pressure, just getting after people, really physical. So they're fun to watch. You have Maryland on the women's side in there, and Indiana. Pretty easy bracket for South Carolina, I think, overall. Um, yeah, if they get to Duke, sure, it's a
They're,
challenge, but South Carolina is far and above the best team in that bracket, I think.
they're my choice to win the whole thing.
Yeah,
Um,
they're a good
but
team.
I'm voting for Juju. That gal. Honestly, the hair on the back of my neck when I first saw her play, I was like, my God, how come I have not watched this girl before? She is
Well,
everything I love
you're
about
welcome.
basketball. And I think in female basketball, and this is not any knock against female basketball, a gal like Judy, she can take the whole enchilada because she's that good.
She's a super good player.
And the fact that UCLA is a better team, and they certainly were in that game, but they are
And UFC beat them twice before that, so
exact. I was just
I
going to
mean,
say that. I was just going to say that. That's why I'm going. UCA is my dark horse. South Carolina, and because you mentioned the two Canadian gals at Duke, I'm a Duke fan. Um, that's where I'm leaning towards.
yeah, no,
Fourth, I have no idea.
and they still have LSU. LSU's out there at
There
number
we
3
go.
seed,
There
right?
we go.
So, I
There we go.
mean, there's another team that I don't know where that
Yeah,
could be winning. So,
that's
but yeah,
exciting. The
the
girls.
women's game's a little. We can be a little shorter on the women's game because lots of guys don't know it.
Yeah.
But again, they start on Friday night, and they're Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever it is for them too. So it's a lot
Wow.
of basketball on TV this weekend.
I'm going
A
to
lot
turn
of
my phone
basketball.
off. I'm turning my phone off,
And I
and
don't even have to. You know what's great about this week, this whole week with college basketball starting, because as we're going to lead into fantasy basketball, because I won the regular season championship. All I have to do is focus on college basketball because I have a bye this week in
yeah,
fantasy basketball.
just keep your eye on the waiver wire.
Oh, I was already today.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I picked up Porzingis, and he had a
Yeah,
great first game for me. I was just
nice.
like desperate, giving up my first, because I mean
Yeah.
nobody talks about the guy, anyways. Fantastic March Madness action, Trent. Thank you for that. And
Oh, sorry. One last thing on college basketball.
okay,
Yesterday was Canadian CIU championship.
yep,
UVic beat Calgary by
yep.
like 35, but the women's game, Saskatchewan Huskies won. They won by double digits, but I cannot remember the girl's name. I feel bad right now. But the girl from U of S, Huskies, dropped 35. Was dropping threes, like pull up threes and stuff like that. It was pretty good. So shout out to those two colleges winning Canadian CIU championships. I can't hear you, my man.
That's why I'm asking for your feedback to make sure because my gain was too low.
Oh, we were fine before that, before just a second ago.
Yeah, it's who knows.
Hey,
It's
technical difficulties. It's part of the show, part of the growth. So, but yeah,
Well, that's awesome. So, do you want to get into and slide into a couple of? There's one player I just want to talk about before we leave the March Madness because I didn't know who this kid was, and anytime a young man at 20 something years old, he's a Euro 6'9" senior, which is very rare to talk about. Um, this dude is he put on a game that you just don't see very often in college. And a senior player at 6'9", it's good to see that he's saving his best for last. But it's hard to imagine a basketball player having a better game than Yaxel Lindenberg did on Friday of last. Not anything close to a household name while playing a little bit off the beaten path for UAB, Alabama, Birmingham. Lindenberg did his best to get noticed during the AAC uh, tournament quarterfinal against East Carolina. Now, these aren't big games, but the 6'9" senior scored 30 points. He grabbed 20 rebounds, dished out 8 assists, and blocked 5 shots and 4 steals. So he basically had 9 stocks, which is just crazy numbers. It's a
that's crazy.
quadruple. He didn't turn the ball over a single time, and he played every single second of the game. He shot 9 for 16 from the floor, 11 from 13 from the foul line, and was the integral reason why they won 94-77 to advance to Saturday's semifinal conference. And for a kid to do that in the last 20 years, not one D1 player has ever had over the course of his entire career, same game or not, a game with 30 plus points, 20 plus rebounds, 8 plus assists, 9 plus stocks, steals and blocks, and a game where he played 40 minutes with 0 turnovers. That name is Yaxel Lindenberg, and he did it all in one night. Congratulations to the young
Yeah,
man, and
great.
what an exceptional game.
Wow, that's
Just
great.
wanted to bring that up, Trent, because
That's
my
crazy.
God,
That's
it's
nuts.
just incredible. And sliding into, we're going into the fantasy basketball, Yahoo fantasy basketball. And my partner in crime here, Trent Raleigh, the co host of The Most, backed up his own terminology under his name, the co-host of the month. He is the from 10th place or ninth place to first place, and a very challenging,
Cinderella story.
yeah,
Cinderella.
very much a Cinderella story. He played just fantastic. He drafted well. He really played. He got very lucky with injuries, and
Mhm.
a lot of the players that he picked had career years.
Until the end of
Um,
his career. But,
Well, I mean, congratulations, Trent.
yeah,
Trent and I, and we're battling each other in the same thing because I placed fourth.
yeah, too bad. I was hoping you'd get on that other bracket just so it might be an
Yeah,
opportunity.
me
Maybe
too.
we
Me
can get
too. We're gonna
maybe
have to.
final.
I've got to win this next bracket. I
That's
don't have a
right.
bye. Trent does, and once I beat up this guy, and he's got a pretty good team. I took a look at it, and
Yeah,
I need. It's going to be a tough match, but if I can get by this guy, I'll be facing Trent in the next round, and
yeah.
it's going to
I mean,
be very interesting. I'm going to have to play my best. My players are going to have to play their best in order for me to get past
yeah,
Trent, and if we don't, I have a chance to get a third place bronze, which I'll do everything I can because I want Trent to win it all, and I'll be happy with third place. And if we both can
good for
trophy,
the brand.
yeah, and we're both playing under the Canadian Bro Show logo, which is all basketball from the Hoop Jumpies, Pauly and Rolly. And so it'd be nice. It'd be a really nice way to end our first season together
Yeah,
doing this. In the meantime, though, we do a segment on Yahoo Fantasy Basketball because not only are the NBA playoffs in the final stages of preparing for the playoffs, both different types of playoffs, the regular playoffs and the play-in playoffs. But March Madness is happening, so this is really the best time if you're a hoop junkie in pretty much any month of the year.
yeah, that's
And
pretty
it's
cool.
the month where my wife goes, "Why did you come to Vancouver during March Madness?" Well, it wasn't my plan. I hadn't seen you for 2 months.
Yeah.
She thinks I came here because I can just ignore her for, the better part of 4 weeks while she's just working, and I could just get into being a hoop junkie. But
There you
at
go.
the end of the day, it's NBA fantasy is also the playoffs started, and I've out of my 8 teams, yes, I have 8 teams. I'm in the playoffs of 6 of those 8. The other two, I finished eighth, just horrible. If you looked at my team, you'd never know what the hell happened. Once I did look at my team, and now I realize it, my bigs just didn't participate. I didn't draft good bigs in that one. And then the other one was a sixth place where I had a Sunday night where I just had to beat the guy 5-4, and I just couldn't cross the line. Otherwise, I would have been in. So, two constant, I don't care. I'm in the
Yeah.
playoffs with 6, and I'm really looking forward to getting some more champions, getting some more cups, some trophies, and continue on with the fantasy basketball legacy that over 20 years now, I'm in the top 1% in the world. And the segment that I want to do right now is the waiver wire, um, unconnected. And
I'm
uh,
kidding.
even though connected could come back because it depends on LeBron James
Yeah.
and his very, very touchy
Looked like
groin.
he was jumping pretty high on his groin, cheering for his son the other night. But hey,
Well, yeah. I mean, he's got two sons he's cheering for. One's on his team, and the other is in Sierra Canyon, and he might be better than the other son that's on the Lakers. But in waiver wire, this is really about, at the end of the day, for managers competing in the Yahoo public leagues or under Yahoo default settings, week 20. This is episode 19, by the way. We're one off from following the NBA because of the crazy schedule this year with fantasy basketball and the NBA and what they've been doing. Week 20 marks the beginning of fantasy playoffs. And so we're in the NBA playoff stretch run. We're in March Madness, and we're also in fantasy playoffs, which starts as of today. And others in other leagues, when postseasons might be already in full swing. It depends. You could be in a points league. You could be in an 8 category league. You could be in a 9 category league. You could be in a rotisserie league. There's a lot of different. There's 12 team leagues, 10 team leagues, 14, 16, 8. I don't play them. I like to go 10, 12, 9 category. I like multiple category.
more players.
And but you need to find low rostered contributors based on some of these teams have 2 games this week, which is just brutal for
I
the
love
first
it.
round of the playoffs. So Trent's really happy he's got to buy because he has to deal with that bullshit. And I do. So I'm really looking at the waiver wire unconnected, and I would like to say waiver wire connected because you need to be connected in order to get past this opening round. And this is where it comes in. Who you pick up? Has there been any nasty injuries? Trent had one of his first injuries, even though he won the league, with De'Aaron Fox going down with a fractured finger, and he's
Yeah.
toast. So who's going to step up? Well, the number one contributing that I'll say is Stephon Castle, who has a very good chance now that Fox has gone down to be potentially the rookie of the year. But
Yeah.
before we do that, he's a 6'6" combo guard that is 220 pounds. He's got a 40-inch vertical. He's a man child. He
Yeah.
is, and they're fighting. They're fighting for the buy-in tournament, and he's fighting for the rookie of the year. So if he's available, I'd grab him. The kid is talented,
Yeah,
and
he's not available. He's already gone. If you're in a good league, that guy's not available. He's gone
and
already.
but like I
Gone
say,
for a long time.
this came out yesterday, and of course the injury happened 3 days
Yeah,
ago. So Trent's probably right. The other is Najee Marshall has just been going
he has been. Yeah,
the off his calzones. It's been unbelievable, and it was inevitable, right? Max Christie disappeared. Don't know what happened to him. I see Trent cut him. I cut him, and but Najee Marshall is trying to get paid, and
yeah,
and knows as a rebounding shooting guard, small forward at 6'6", 6'7", is in the perfect team at the best possible time to get paid, and
yeah,
he is putting up sick numbers. He is
yeah,
contributing way beyond his pay grade, but that pay grade is gonna follow him because
yeah.
Dallas is lucky to put 8 players and that's the minimum amount of players. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do. It's going to be
I think
really crazy.
we can give them credit when we do the standings because we basically counted them out last week. We really did.
Brutal,
So
just
yeah,
terrible. And the next guy I picked up on three of my teams because I looked at the schedule and Houston doesn't have any back-to-back games and they've got 4 games. So not having back-to-backs and
yeah,
4 games in a week is what you want, especially with a
yeah.
team like Houston that's playing great. And Terry Eason was available. I scooped him on three, and Trent
I've,
got him as well. He's
I've
a
had them
kid
for a
without
bit.
back to backs because of his left leg situation. I'm not sure. They need titanium. They need to cut his old leg off and get a titanium
I'm
leg.
glad
I'm not.
I didn't need him this weekend.
Yeah.
We picked
Oh,
him up,
you've
and
been
it
very
was
fortunate.
it
I
was
think
rolling the dice. So
Trent's going to win the championship this year. That's my guess
I
because
don't know.
he's been extremely lucky and very fortunate. The next
Maybe.
guy I'll talk about, I picked up on three of my teams as well, is Quentin Grimes. The kid has
Yep.
just been going off, and poor Nick Nurse over at the 76ers.
Uh,
What a debacle that is.
I just seen report today that
Paul
Paul
George
George
is going to be
is
shut down.
out for the year.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
just
sure he can do the podcast.
not a surprise. Paul George he's got a bad groin. He's got a dodgy ham. He's got calf contusions. He's $250 million richer, and he's got a podcast that he wants to get back to. I
Guy's got
understand.
more podcast episodes than games played. For God's sakes, like jeez, unbelievable, man,
Oh, it's
unbelievable.
just what a mess. And
Right.
the next guy, my man Brunson, one of my favorite top 5 point guards in the NBA, goes down with a nasty ankle injury. My God, I've never seen so many ankle injuries in the last couple of weeks. But honestly, if you go down with an ankle
That
injury
was
and it's bad, you're toast.
it
And
was
I think because he's one of the toughest mofo's in the league, he is just like red hot nails. The guy
yep,
would walk on to play. And I gotta go with Miles McBride, Deuce McBride.
yep,
They don't have anyone else.
yep.
You've got Ratatouille. Forget about that dude, man. Anytime he cranks up that corkscrew shot, I just cringe and I can't watch it. It's flat. There's no way it goes in. And
Is that
dude,
where
I can't.
he's on the Knicks?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And they got Shamat
Ah,
as well, two of my least favorite point combo guards in the NBA, and they got both of them. So I picked up Deuce McBride because he can score. He's a
yeah,
shooter. He's unselfish,
he's
and
streaky.
and Tibbs loves him, so he's
Yep,
going to play 40 minutes. So and his usage is going to be high, and he's going to have the ball in his hand. So it's make up or break up,
and Mitchell
and
Robinson being back too.
yeah, and what a stiff that guy is. Oh my God. Get some ankles, bro. And he's got size 10 feet and he's
He
7
really does.
foot, 250 pounds. No wonder he's always broken because his feet are so small. They can't carry that dude.
Love
But
it.
anyways, the next guy is a guy I've been talking about. I saw him play finally. His name's Keyshawn or Keyshawn, however the hell you want to say it, George. He's
Right.
this athletic 6'8" afro wearing dude with one of the
Yeah,
worst teams in the NBA at the Washington. I used to call them the Bullets. The
they're the bullet.
Washington. They're the Washington Generals. They're so bad. It's incredible. But the kid is very talented, very athletic, and they're going to play him the rest of the year. They're tanking, and it's one of those teams that when they tank, even if they win, it doesn't matter because their record sucks. They're
Yep.
terrible. The other is Karis LeVert. It's one of those trades that worked out for both teams, but Karis is always injured. It's
Yep.
always something. But he is somebody that can really help Atlanta make
Yep.
their push for the play-in tournament. And if he can stay healthy, he's 6'6". He can play the combo guard. He can give spells to Trey, and I like him. He
Yep.
depending on what their schedule's like, could be a good pickup. Trey Jones has been playing great. Not a guy I'd normally mention. I like his older brother better, but again, with Chicago, with the backcourt injuries that they have, it's been playing crazy
Yep.
and playing really well. And so it's someone to keep an eye on. The other is the big man, the 6'11" big man from Africa, um, Adam Bona, and I saw him play one game, and he had 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 3 steals, and a three. I was like, who the f is this dude, man?
Minute.
I'm telling you, it was like Big Africa's already down. Big Drummond is very inconsistent this year,
Yep.
and the big French guy, his ass is bigger than Drummond's, and
Small.
he cannot stay healthy. So if you need a big and you're desperate, You could roll with Adam Buona. The other guy I'll talk about with Washington, because they got injury problems as well, is Justin Champagny, the
Yep,
younger brother of the other Champagny with the
yep.
Spurs. He's had a couple of big games, and they're going to let him run. They're going to let him run. They're going to let him jack, and Washington actually, who cares if they're tanking? They've got a great schedule. They're playing 4-4 2 weeks in a row, and so, like a few other teams that are playing 4-4, that could bring you into the next level of the fantasy playoffs with a player that you would probably never draft otherwise. And that is the waiver wired unconnected.
So the only guy I would mention is we brought him up last week. I actually picked him up because he had 2 games. He had back to backs on Friday, Saturday. It was a kid from OKC,
Yeah,
Wallace.
right.
Yeah,
I
kind of
saw you
tells.
picked him up. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's why I got rid of. I picked him up and got rid of Kamara
yeah.
from Portland, who I really
Portland.
like. He fills a spot.
Terrible schedule. Terrible
But
schedule.
they played 1 game in like
Yeah.
4 days. So
And they
it was,
play 3 games next week.
I
It was
I
like
knew I
brutal.
still got that bye, but I thought it'd be nice just to beat that
Trent's
guy.
picking up Casey Wallace because he gets he's like the seventh man, sixth, seventh man, and he
He's just
gets
playing
all
starting because
backboard,
of the
and it's all stats. It's all defensive stats, stocks,
yeah,
steals, blocks,
yeah,
and rebounds and hustle plays.
yeah. Well, I had
And
the total. That was the two categories that I led the entire league in was blocks and rebounds.
yeah,
So
well,
those were the two.
your bigs were healthy, and the
Yeah,
coaches actually played them, and you did
exactly.
a great job of drafting three very very lucky,
Yeah,
stable, injury
yeah,
free
very much.
bigs.
Yep,
Yeah, so
yep,
good
very
job
much.
on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's the Yahoo Fantasy. We'll see what happens. It's going to be exciting. It's going
yeah.
to go very quick. And
Rooting for
yeah, so I'm really hoping that both Trent can win the championship, and I can get in there for a third place. I'd be really happy with the
you. Well, it's gonna
bronze.
be interesting to be a spectator this week. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, totally, totally. And so let's get into the Eastern and Western Conference. Trent, right
Right.
about time, 52 minutes.
Perfect. So,
Yeah,
um, so yesterday was a good game on TV. Cleveland, Orlando.
yeah,
Uh, Cleveland's probably going to win the East with the amount of games left. I don't see them not being finishing first. Uh, but Orlando was down 16-17 in the mid second quarter, and I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to have to watch this game. It's over. Well, then they started to make a push before half, and then by mid third quarter, it was a very good game. I give Orlando credit for pushing back and getting back in that game and winning that game.
yeah,
Really good game against Cleveland. They had Cleveland in first still. That hasn't changed for who knows how long. They've been in first. I mean, that was a what they lose. That was a 16-game winning streak they had going on at Orlando Snap. Right? They've had like 3 streaks like that this year. It's crazy.
yeah.
You have Celtics in second, pretty solid to where they are. Then you got the Knicks in third, only 4 games ahead of the Bucks. But I just the way the Bucks are playing too. I don't. I think these positions are pretty. Those top three, anyways. I don't. I'd be surprised to see the Knicks fall out of third in the East. I know the Brunson injury. We'll see what goes on, but they got a good enough team to keep playing well, right?
But honestly, it falls on Deuce, and he really needs to step up and
Right.
carry the load, because I think he can. He's that dynamic of a backup, and Tibbs loves him, and he's going to play him 40 minutes, but he's got to perform, Trent, and he can.
Yep.
He's a great
Oh,
combo guard,
that's right.
and so I agree with you, and I'm a huge Knicks fans, of course, but
Yep.
at the end of the day, the difference between the Knicks and the next team is the Bucks, and that's 5 games. So
Yep.
the Bucks got to go on a serious
Yeah.
tear
Yeah.
here to
That's why
make
I'd be.
any dent.
Yeah. I'm with. That's why I said that. I think those first top three are pretty solid because you go to 4, 5, and 6. Well, now you got the Bucks with 38 wins, the Pacers with 37s, and the Detroit Pistons with 37. I mean,
That's
to
right.
think about it, Detroit Pistons, by the end of this year, could be the fourth seed in the East. And not one person, so-called expert, including us, not one person picked that. I can guarantee that. And if you come out and tell me that, oh, that was my preseason pick, yeah, you're lying.
Well,
You're not.
I wouldn't, because you know how I felt about Detroit in the first week,
Exactly.
our first show. I was
What a
like,
crazy season
it
for
was a
them.
complete f
Unreal.
ball. It was such a mess.
Unbelievable, man. They're 37 and 31,
Good
and
for
they're
them. I'm happy. I'm happy for them. And the franchise needed that. And honestly, the coach everywhere he's gone, he's won 55% of his games,
Yep.
and every single team. So, I blew it. I was wrong in the
Oh,
beginning.
yeah.
I thought he didn't
Yep.
know what the F he was talking about. But as it
Yep.
turns out, he seems to know what he's talking about. And look at the nepotism. Look at his dad. His dad was
Yep.
a very good coach.
Yep.
And he's done exceptionally well and good for the Pistons.
Yep.
Kate Cunningham, wow.
Yep.
Duran, oh
Yeah.
man.
It's they've got a good
Beasley,
thing going. And
Beasley has really
yeah,
played well for them. He's got to continue in this run. Beasley's got to play
and
like
super
he's been.
young too. That's the thing about
Yeah,
this team.
yeah,
Super young. Like holy moly,
yeah.
the potential that's here in
And
the next
picking up
5 years.
Schroeder was a really savvy
Yeah,
move
Beckham. Yep.
to
Yep.
help out their backcourt because
Yep.
when young dude went down with the fractured tibia, and by the way, he's healing very fast. So
Yep. Ivy.
Jaden Ivey is next year probably. I'm happy for them. It's good, and I've always been a big fan of some of their like Tobias Harris. Nobody talks about the
Yep.
dude. He's
Yep.
so consistent. He's so professional. He's
Good
the
pro.
perfect pickup. What a great trade. And then
He's like
the
the go ahead.
no, I was just going to say the other twin with the Thompson brothers,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
he's not as good.
Raw.
His brother, Houston's a better player, and I thought it
He's
was the other way around.
he's raw though. He has potential to be pretty
Oh my
pretty
god.
like my
They're
God.
those kids
But
are unreal,
athletes,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty crazy athletes,
Yeah.
those guys. Yeah, so the Pistons being there, then you have the Hawks, the Magic, the Heat, and the Bulls.
You just
The
blew
Raptors.
over Indiana. I guess you're just not thinking they're going
Well,
to
well, yeah,
hold.
Indiana's tied with Detroit. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not didn't mean to blow them over at all, but they're tied with Detroit at 5 and 6, and
They have
Atlanta. Yeah,
virtual identical records, except the Indiana Pacers at
less
home
than
have a much better home
yeah,
record.
yeah, and they're a game ahead. They have 2 less losses, so they played a couple less games too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, but a lot of these teams right now, like these middle teams in the East, are all their last outside of Cleveland and Boston. Everybody else is like 5 and 5, 6 and 4, 5 and 5.
The
Like
Hawks,
everybody's kind of
the Bulls have
middling
been
right
playing
now, right?
well.
Yeah, they're 6 and 4 in the last 10.
Yeah.
Getting a little bit of healthy back, getting Vooch back, that helps them, right?
And
Um,
Giddy's got to get back, but he's playing out of
but
his mind, man. He was averaging a triple double for a
and then
week.
you get and again, those guys like Atlanta's 5 games behind Detroit, like you said about the Bucks and the Knicks. I'd be surprised. The only real changes I can see right now is that 4, 5, and 6 spot because
Yeah.
there's 38, 37, 37 between the Bucks,
Right.
the Pacers, and the Pistons. So basically, a game in 2 games. Those three teams could be fighting for that fourth seed.
Yeah.
But I think 7 to 8, there's a few changes. Obviously, with Orlando at 32, same amount of wins as they're a half game behind Atlanta. Miami, again, these teams we're talking about, none of these 4 teams, the only team I even would give a shot to maybe upsetting somebody in the first round would be Orlando. Otherwise,
I'd have to give the Bulls
yeah,
also a mention because with Vooch coming back and Collins performing and getting their backcourt healthy, Kobe White's been playing exceptionally well. Their first round draft pick, 6 overall, has been playing great.
yeah,
They don't really have any depth on the bench, but they have a
right.
great coach. And I think the Bulls, they're 6-4, and I think they're a better team than Orlando and the Heat.
Yeah,
Myself
we'll see.
personally, but
We'll
and the
see.
Raptors are 6-4. Believe me,
Yep.
they don't want to be winning because they're sitting Barrett and
I
quickly,
know. Yeah.
and it's like
You
Barrett
seem
is
to
like,
lose 2 of the 4. They never
oh,
seem to play them all the same game.
no, Barrett's like, I'm sick again. Oh, come on, man. I'm taking personal. Come on, man. Like, honestly, the NBA find Toronto,
Yeah,
find them 100,000 because they're doing the same bullshit
what they
that
did in
all these
Utah.
other teams are
Yeah,
tanking, and we don't pay to watch tanking teams, and they're going to change the NBA rules because of this tanking. This is
yeah.
ridiculous. It's
Well, then
completely
you
out of
got
control.
and you think about it, you have I mean, Philadelphia was a dumpster fire, all the injuries. So all their 3 main players that take 75% of the money, Maxey, George, and Embiid are all out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
Well,
and
Maxey
Brooklyn
should be playing, but he has a pinky issue.
yeah, well,
It's just
Cam Thomas is now out for the season, so
yeah, no,
that's
yeah. I mean, did you
that
see his legs?
yeah,
Dude, when he was injured, he missed like 30, 40 games.
yeah,
He was eating fried chicken a lot because he did not look
It always goes
in
at
shape.
the end of all evil for Paul, it seems, is always fried chicken.
It
It always
is.
goes
It just clogs the
you
arteries.
love it, but you love it though.
It's delicious. It's the have you tried the Popeyes? The
Yes,
Popeyes
of course,
spicy? Oh my
of course, man.
god.
Spicy sandwich. It's delicious.
Oh, I'm
So,
just
then you got,
salivating.
the Hornets. The Hornets have tried to make a comeback for that Cooper Flag pick with, only 2 games ahead of the Wizards now. The Wizards, they showed their wins the other night. They beat the Jazz, or they beat the Nuggets this year, the Wizards. They've beat
I
they've
watched that
they've
game. Do you know
they've
who
beat
played really well?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sarr, the
yeah.
big Frenchman,
Yeah,
has
he had a great
played
game. Yeah.
2 incredible games in a row.
So they've beaten Charlotte 4 times. Washington has. 4 of your
Honestly,
15 wins are against Charlotte.
Charlotte
Oh,
has beaten itself
oh,
like
they're terrible.
80 times this year. What a terrible franchise. What an
Yeah.
embarrassment. Honestly,
So,
there are teams in EuroLeague that could
yeah,
beat probably
be more
6 or
competitive.
7 NBA
Yeah,
teams.
yeah,
Telling you.
be more competitive for sure.
Yeah.
So that's the East. And I think we kinda know, especially those top 4 to 6, 7 teams, we kinda know
Yeah.
where there's gonna be a little bit of displacement in the standings, but overall, we know that I'm with you on the Bucks and the Knicks. I'd be the Knicks would have to go in the tank, and the Bucks would have to heat up pretty good to make up five
Yep.
games in the
Yep.
standings. So I
And
think
they
those
can.
top 3 in the
They
East,
can. It
yeah, I think
depends on the health of
yeah.
Damian.
But
You
you
know,
watch,
I
they're gonna stick. You watch, like you said about fantasy. They're gonna teams now. You got to be even more active because teams go, oh, you know what? We'll rest this guy tonight. Say he has a calf contusion because we're already in the playoffs. We don't need to play him, right? So that's what we're at with. Is going to happen in this next couple of weeks of fantasy
yeah.
as
Yeah.
well, right? So that's the East in a nutshell. So go to the West. OKC the other night, watching their game the other night against Milwaukee. Um, they're 9-1 in the last 10. I mean, just and playing without Jalen Williams. But Chet Holmgren looks like he's starting to get his momentum back a little bit, his groove back a bit. They're the team to beat. They're the team to beat
It's
in
funny,
the
Trent. When Chet, he had an offensive rebound and a really nice
yeah,
one,
yeah,
and he's so slender, and he goes up and he dunks it, and then he does the
yeah,
the gun
yeah,
show, and
yeah,
he's like ah, and then he realized
yeah.
he looked down, and he went,
Yeah. That should have
he's
been a plumber. He could snake toilets with those arms.
I'm telling you, those arms are balsa wood. But honestly, the kid's 7 foot, and I love him. He's so
Crazy.
talented.
Yeah, but they're the team to beat to me. Even over even I think it's. I mean, if we get them in Boston in the final, what a great final for fans. If
So
it's them in
who do you get? Who do you think a quick MVP? Do you think SGA's got the advantage?
I think if they finish with the best record, I think he gets it. I think. I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, Jokic's numbers are crazy. I
just
get it.
insane.
I mean, so but then again though, now you have they've been on a little bit of a lull, the Nuggets, and all of a sudden in second place again, all those people that are so-called experts like us with Detroit, nobody was picking Houston to be second in the West right now at this time of year.
Well, we
Not a
both
person.
did say in the beginning, the very first
We said
episode we did that
yes,
is a team that
right.
like we were
They're up and
watching,
coming.
like
Yeah,
Memphis, absolutely. And boy,
they
did they
they are just playing
perform!
great.
Oh
And they're
my
at
God,
7-3 in the last 10, so they've been on a bit of a
it's
heater as well.
incredible.
And then you got Denver, and you got and there's some and the big thing here in the West is it's opposite of the East. These top 6, even this top 7 now, the Minnesota's starting to play better. At 40 wins, the number 7 spot. Yeah,
Yeah,
Golden State
man.
at 6 with 39, Lakers with 41 and 5th,
Golden
Memphis
State
with
since they got
43.
Jimmy is 13-1, bro.
Yeah, and then Denver at 43 and Houston at 4. You have all these teams within 4 games of each other
Yeah.
in the West, and from 7 to second. I mean, I mean, Minnesota could be the second seed in the West the way they're playing right now. I mean, it's the West is a whole nother animal. It's
It
not the
really
East.
is. I mean, you can go in that whole middle section. You got the Timberwolves, you got the Clips, you got the Kings, and
Yeah,
Dallas.
yeah.
And don't count Dallas out. They get a
Yeah, we
couple of
counted
real.
them out last week. We did. We were saying with all those injuries, we were both done with Dallas. We were like,
Oh
I
yeah,
could see them. I could see them slipping out of that 10 spot. And then after watching Phoenix play so uninspired the other night,
oh,
I what a
they're
travesty.
blowing up. They don't care. I mean, Durant. You look at his body language. He's just rolling his eyes. He
Be
can
great
hardly
for
wait to get out of there.
be great for his legacy on that team. Didn't even make the
Well,
playoffs. Good.
I'm still a huge fan. I love.
Me too. The guy could score the basketball, but holy moly, man,
Yeah,
win something else.
but I
But
do have to say one thing. I got to give the Kleps.
yep, Yeah.
I think the Clips are going to be a team that if you have to play them in the play-in,
Yep.
you better bring your A game
Yep.
because Harden and the boys have been
Harden's
playing
playing
in.
phenomenal.
He is
Oh,
just
he's
unbelievable.
he's
That
playing
dude.
phenomenal.
He is
He
just
is.
and he goes. He's playing 40,
Yep.
45 minutes a
Yep.
game. And he's asked at the end of the game and he's no nonchalant. He goes, I'll rest when I'm dead. I'll rest when the season's finished.
Yep.
I'm gonna go rest right now. I'm gonna go sleep 12 hours tonight. I'm gonna get up tomorrow and do the
I'm not
same
going.
thing
I'm not
again.
going to the strippers for chicken wings. I'm going to go home.
No, he's been doing that,
Yep.
and he says, "Oh, plenty of time to do that when the season's finished."
And
And
getting
believe me, he will.
and getting Kawhi back. Leonard's playing.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
they're
guy's good.
scary, dude. And Ben Simmons on the depth playing center who can drop dimes. What a
Yeah.
great player he is, eh?
Zubac.
What a joke,
Zubac.
man. He's
Zubac. I think
probably one of the players I hate more than any other player in the NBA is
him.
Ben Simmons. What a
You
fucking
dislike him.
stiff. I just oh, so much talent and what
but
a stiff.
but the West is a whole other animal, man. It's like
Yeah.
what a fight that's going to be. The playoffs in the West is much watched television
And
back
I
then.
hope the NBA finds the Utah Jazz for the remaining few weeks left in the season, another 100,000 each time. And honestly, they instead of finding the franchise, just find Danny Ainge. Take it out of
Yep.
Danny Ainge's pocket
Yeah.
because it is embarrassing what they're doing, and the Raptors are not doing any better. It's a problem in the NBA, and it needs to be addressed,
Agreed.
fixed, and
I give
sorted.
I give I give Dallas when you bring this up about injuries, I give Dallas credit for what they're doing. Those guys
Incredible,
are playing hard. They're trying to
incredible.
win games. They could have just again, we counted them out. We both did. Last week we were both, okay, I think Dallas is done. These injuries are just it was just once Kyrie went down, it was like, okay, how are they winning games, right? But
No,
they're playing
how are they playing games if they
yeah,
don't have 8 players and they've got to use their G League guys. They got to use their 10 days.
yep,
They got to use any way they can. If anything, they're going to have
unreal.
to
Good
get
on
some of
them.
these. No, they're going to have to get. They're going to have to dress a couple of the assistant coaches and sign them to 10 days and just
The one team that's kind of sneaking up, and I like this team. They're fun to watch. I've watched about 6 of their games now this year. Is the Trailblazers? They're at 29 wins. They're only 4 games out of that 10 spot. But they're not,
shocking.
I don't think they're going to get there. But
No,
they're a fun team to watch. They play at really high pace, good defense, just really young. And then they got to get rid of that stiff Aiton. I know that's your guy. I know you love that
no,
guy.
I hate him.
So,
Hate him. Hate him. But
so
I like the Denny Avia. I think he's been
yeah.
playing fantastic. I love their backcourt.
You got Sharp as a
Um,
Canadian. You got Kamara. I mean, they've got a really good young team. Like,
they do,
yep,
and Chauncey has done a pretty good job with a bunch of shite.
yep,
Really, they
yep.
don't have a lot of talent on that team.
And then unfortunately, again, I think if Wembyama doesn't get hurt, I think the Spurs are right there. I mean, there are only 4 games, 5 games out. They're just not going to do it. They're going to play their players.
Yeah,
I just don't have enough guys.
yeah.
I would say the guy on their team, when you bring up Tayshaun Prince, or not Tayshaun Prince, but uh, what's his name from Detroit? That used to be at Philly. Tobias Harris.
Oh,
So you bring
Tobias.
up
Yeah,
Tobias Harris. Well, that's who Harrison Barnes is for the Spurs.
yeah,
Right? Same kind of guy, professional, can
yeah,
hit an open shot, just a good professional player, can play anywhere in any system, that kind of
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
He's
Good
very
locker
innocent.
room presence. Good
Yeah,
veteran.
right? And unfortunately they're just not. I mean, they don't have the guns now without Fox and Wembyama. And
No.
then you got New Orleans, who's like a huge disappointment. I honestly thought they could be an 8 seed like in the playoffs this year.
I
And
personally think they should fire their
uh,
general manager. He's done a terrible job. I won't even say his name. It's just
Utah, you've
embarrassing.
already made your feelings felt on Utah, and we both agree on them. So
Terrible, terrible.
it's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go get Filipowski. Go get Collier because nobody else is going to play.
The race in the West here at the end. I think the one good thing for the way the West is, if you're in fantasy, and hopefully none of the people we play fantasy against listen to us, but between you and I would be looking at those teams that have bench players in those top 6 to 8 players or teams because they're playing for something still. They're playing
Yeah,
for some home court, maybe that kind of thing. Their guys are going to play. Their stars
dude.
are going to be playing.
If you're
Right?
in fantasy, look at the schedule. Look at the
Yep.
teams that are playing 4 games.
And
They're
meaningful games. Who's playing meaningful games as well?
meaningful games, but also 4 games per week, and
Yep,
also what days they're playing on. They're
yep,
not competing against the busy days, Wednesdays, Friday, Saturdays.
yep.
So, and you look at the schedule because that's how you deke and move, and there are ways. I've won championships on literally the last game
Right.
on a Sunday,
Because you went and picked the guy up and got
n-
a couple extra steals out of a guy or something. Oh, that's
numerous times.
crazy. Yeah.
Numerous times, and so you can. But Trent, good job. Really good episode. We're at an hour and 10 minutes. That's about as long as we like to go when there's a lot of
Yeah.
content, and there was today. So thanks very much for that, Trent. And I hope you win the championship in our league. And
Well,
I hope
enjoy the
I
week. March
yeah,
Madness this week. Enjoy the
uh,
first 2 rounds.
just
It'll
to
be
have a
fun.
great weekend. We're going to be talking to each other in the meantime. This is Paul Bale with I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. You see my nickname there, Hoop Junkie. Well, it's all Hoop Junkies with Pauly and Rolly. And
Right.
another episode, number 19, which is quite remarkable in the first iteration of the Canadian Bro Show with Pauly and Johnny, all things Canadian. We just did our 34th episode,
Nice.
wrapped that up with our interview series with one of the best restaurateurs that I've ever worked with in the hospitality industry, Mr. Richard Goodine from the Goodine Group. Just a fantastic show. And then, of course, in a couple of days, we're going to be releasing episode 33 with my old friend, a PhD, Dr. Stuart Schulman, has just a fantastic, very interesting thesis and study on Musk and the political games that Musk and Trump and all of the clown show that's happening right now. That's going to be an excellent episode. That's going to be out as well. So, in the meantime, very happy for all of you guys following us.
Hey,
We've had some really good
shout out,
numbers.
shout out to your buddy Chris with his setup that you sent. Looks really
Chris
good,
Wright,
Chris. Keep pumping our tires. We'll pump yours.
yeah,
Yeah, looks
Chris is starting his own. His studio's done. His opening segment's
good.
excellent. I'm going to get him to do an opening segment for us, Trent.
Nice.
And in the meantime, if you enjoy this content, please subscribe, like, comment, share. And in the meantime, on behalf of Trent Rowley and myself, the co-host of The Most, my name is Paul Bale, the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you for episode 20 and next week. In the meantime, peace out, love, and happiness. And be kind out there, everyone. It's free, it's easy. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Peace, love, and happiness. Take care, Trent. Have a great day.